What's up, SFL Nation? Alongside Mike St. Green, I'm Cameron Irvine. This is Season 24, Week 7 of the SFL this week. And it was an abbreviated week around here. A lot of teams on bye, or more teams than usual on bye, and they got to sit back and watch some good SFL action. There are no more undefeated teams in the SFL, and just one winless team, or two winless teams as well. Mike St. Green, how you doing?
Doing great, Cam. Good to be here. As you mentioned, a kind of an abbreviated weekend of SFL action, but it was great action nonetheless.
Your Houston Cougars got a big win on the road in Arizona this week, and yeah, you're enjoying some good times down there. You ready for some roughneck football?
I don't know how geared up I am for roughneck football, but yeah, Houston basketball program doing a great job and have another big weekend coming up.
Hey, we went to one of those games together, but they're still playing at Rice, aren't they?
You know, I'm not sure. They probably are, because I know the reno to the Houston Stadium is still ongoing, so they're probably going to have another season over at Rice University.
Is that Houston Stadium ever going to look like a Big 12 stadium? Are they doing some good things over there?
They're doing some good things. Cam, putting in some suites and things like that, and new sound system and all that. So I ain't that going to resemble a Big 12 stadium, but we'll see in the fall.
We'll see what Kansas's looks like. Their renovation looks like it's going to be pretty good. Well, it was in SFL world. It was another strong week of games. Not really a leading headliner this week, I would say. It was pretty much I don't want to say status quo, but you know, it was who you expected to be at the top, maybe outside of one exception, and that is the surging Carolina Skyhawks, and they lead our show tonight against the Arizona Scorpions, coming in at 2-2, and after trailing 3-0 early on, the Carolina offense really got going. Marcus Dunhill found Chase Earl inside the 5-yard line, and then on second down and goal, they finish it off with their run game. Harish Prasad diving into the end zone, not hurt on that play. 7-3, Carolina back in the red zone on their next possession, and Dunhill finds Chris Curtis. He really had this Skyhawk offense moving in the first half, and then once again, Carolina finishes it off with the run game. Riley Quintero, so 4 different players involved there in the offense. Third quarter, how about Vince DeSantis? Watch this play, Mike. DeSantis on the sideline, shakes off a tackle, was going the wrong way, and then turns around and makes an exceptional play for the first down. Arizona just could not get off the field. That field goal ended the drive, a 17-play, nearly 7-minute drive for the Carolina offense. 17-3 now, 20-3. Finally, the Arizona Scorpions show a pulse. Ashley Jackson to Will Todd.
Yeah, that was pretty much the only bright spot that the Arizona Scorpions had all night.
Jackson rolling out, trying to complete a comeback with 8 minutes to go, finds Donnie Hands, but the drive would end in a field goal. This was the moment. 3rd down and 10, 4 minutes to go. Arizona has a chance to get off the field, and Chase Earl finds some space, breaks a tackle, and gets out of there. Carolina holds on to win 20-13 over Arizona. It wasn't necessarily a dominant victory, but Carolina played their game. Arizona did not. The Scorpion run game was a little bit absent, and Carolina keeps control over the East. They improved to 5-2, just a half game out of the best record in the SFL.
Yeah, Carolina, they got off to a slow start, and we were kind of wondering, you know, what would this team look like bringing over Marcus Dunhill, but they have, you know, gotten things turned around over there, and over the past few weeks, they've looked, as you just mentioned, not dominant, but they've been solid, and a huge part of the game over the weekend was 3rd down, as you mentioned. Demoralizing plays every 3rd down. It seems like for that Arizona defense, they could not get off the field. Carolina, they were 11 out of 16 on 3rd downs. They had 4 drives of 10 plus plays. throughout this game, and they dominated the time of possession, almost 30 minutes time of possession for to Arizona's roughly 11.
Somebody's got to do a feature piece on developing linebackers, because Carolina's Danny Stinson and Shravan Prasad just continue to cause problems, nightmares for both teams' run game and pass games. And Prasad was dominant just a couple of weeks ago, and then Stinson had an interception in this game as well. They shut down Brad Jones and DJ Moses and Bismarck Wright and all that. There was none of that in this game, and Carolina just throttled it. They continue to impress. It's surprising. It really is. Even though they had a good season last year, I think there were questions of whether or not they could take it even further, and I think they have.
Yeah, I definitely think that they have, Cam, and the key to me is bringing in Dunhill, former league MVP. He's been a solid quarterback and solid player in this league for a long time, and he has started to make a difference. He had a great, efficient game as well. I think he was something like 15 out of 18 in this game. Chase Earl was big, almost 100 yards receiving as well, and the passing game and the run game combination, Quintero had 100 yards rushing. And as you mentioned, the defense, they were outstanding. Third down, fantastic. And they're looking like a complete team right now.
Arizona falls to 2-3. They're fourth in the West. First, how do you see it, Mike, as to what exactly is going on with the Scorpions? I mean, 2-3 is not a terrible record. It's certainly something they can come back from, but they just seem a bit off.
They definitely seem a bit off, Cam. At the end of the APF era, it was pretty much two teams that were standing at the top. Obviously Baltimore, but Arizona, they were challenging them, challenging for a championship a couple of seasons, and we expected to see them in the championship race pretty much every season there towards the end of that era. But it seems like they have kind of struggled to adjust to the 2K era. But more importantly, right now, over the past couple games, and really throughout the season, that running game is not there right now. Cam, DJ Moses, Brad Jones, these guys, they do not have a 200-yard rusher on this team right now, and they're 5 games in.
Wow.
And that was really surprising for me to see that these guys are not able to run the ball. And then you look at the turnover factor. Ashley Jackson has thrown 10 interceptions this season, and then in turn, they only have 4 interceptions on the defensive side of the ball, and they struggle to get off the field on third down this last game. So it's all kind of adding up and snowballing on these guys, and not being able to cash in drives and things like that. And mainly it's because the running game has pretty much been non-existent for Arizona.
Yeah, they're not winning the line of scrimmage, Mike. I think that they're not winning it on the defensive front or the offensive front, on most downs. So, good news, Mike. We do have a support group. It's called Ashley Jackson's Hotline, and Eddie Gage is here to try and, everybody in SFL Nation, put your arm around him. Ashley Jackson caught up with Eddie Gage after the game to hear his thoughts about Arizona's recent struggles.
All right, and we are back with PGI, and I'm joined with my good friend as well as a fellow co-owner, Mr. Eddie Gage of the Arizona Scorpions, coming off a loss, man, another one. This has been 2, not in a row, but there's been 2 consecutive losses for the Arizona Scorpions, who are now sitting at 2-3. And Coach, I just wanted to kind of touch bases with you and to know, like, what's going on, man? What's different about Arizona this season?
Hard to put a finger on it. With 2-3, sub 500, and first time in a long time, and I don't like this feeling at all. And it's weird because every loss occurred differently. I don't necessarily get to myself about week 1 because it's week 1. No one knows what the other is doing, any kind of tendencies or anything like that. But those other 2 losses are tough because every loss we've taken this season has come in a different fashion. It's like we just finding different ways to lose, and it all starts with me because the defense is doing well, but our offense is struggling. We got a lot of turnovers I got to clean up, and it's putting a lot of pressure on the defense to perform at an elite level. And I don't know, to see Carolina they didn't have any necessarily gas in the runs, but they did just enough to keep the chains moving, and that was disappointing. So I got a lot of stuff to clean up.
Are you finding it difficult to game plan nowadays with distractions, or is it just about you pretty much finding what works for the team that you have built?
I think it's the latter. If you look at it, our offense moves the ball. You know, you're top 5 in passing yards a game and stuff like that. So, and our running game has been amongst the best in the league, but against those turnovers, and there seem to be turnovers in the red zone and bad times. It's just, if we can get those turnovers cleaned up, we'd be a much better team right now. So if I can just fix that problem, I think we'd be okay.
Okay, next opponent's coming up very quickly. Last question, Coach. Vancouver's next opponent, known to score high and keep the opponents from doing the same. So what do you think one of the main focuses will be next week?
They used, I believe, at least 3 books so far. So can't just key in on one book. Gotta, pretty much be ready for anything, and that they decide to put on display next week. And they just came off a big win themselves over Washington, who I had myself ranked as the number 1 team coming into last week. So Vancouver's put themselves on the map, and it's going to take all of us to get this win if we're going to get it.
Indeed. Well, it's one thing I can say. I do believe in you, Coach. Just back to the drawing board at the end of the day.
Appreciate it.
Anytime. See you later.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ashley. And the SFL Community Check-In time is here. Once again, as our community ambassador and director of community relations, Ashley Jackson wants to hear from you to gauge the pulse of the community. Please complete the Google form that she has available. She will collect this information and share it with me live on SFL Nights within the next few weeks. So tune in live so together we can address what is happening in our community. The form will be available in League Alerts until February 22nd. All right, back to the highlights. Let's go to Buffalo, where the Queen City Corsairs took on the Charleston Predators. Iman Kopech, one of the best throws of his season, into the back pylon to Doug Britton, made it 10-0 Charleston. Middle of the second quarter, this is Jalen Wells, punching it into the end zone. And, I stand corrected, Charlie Baker with that touchdown for Queen City. Then, after Kopech got hurt, McNair comes in for Charleston and tries to lead him down the field. Queen City had so many moments in this game that they wish they could have back. That pass interference gave Charleston the ball on the 1-yard line. McNair, in the slowest run in human history, gets a 1-yard touchdown run. Ryan Davis, just before the first half, gets a catch, breaks a tackle. Queen City's right in this thing, 17-14 towards the end of the second quarter. Ryan Davis continues to be outstanding. Nick Hoagland, man, this Charleston offense, even with the backup quarterback in, so efficient, puts the Predators up 27-14 late in the third. How about this? 4th down, fake punt, Queen City wide open, and he dropped it. Just more bad luck for the Corsairs on this night. Got to put players in the right position, Mike.
No doubt about it, Cam. That's funny. He wound up with all that he had, but a little bit behind him, and he wasn't able to haul it in.
Brad Taylor Wright, look at the stiff arm getting away from players. And this is the thing, when Charleston's playing their best football, they're getting everyone involved. They are such a balanced attack, and they use their depth to their advantage. Look at Nick Hoagland thumping down the field for 12. And then under 7 minutes to go, Charleston trying to put the dagger in. McNair, Solomon, 34-14, just like that. Queen City would not give up. This was a crazy sequence. 3.5 to go. Now it's 3rd and goal on the half-yard line. They throw it again after the pass interference call. That's no good. Then on 4th and goal from the half-yard line, on the 18th play of the drive, Michael Brown finally puts it into the end zone. It was an exhausting series. Ryan Davis with the touchdown. Now on the onside kick, Charleston fumbles but recovers their own fumble. That was just the type of night it was for Queen City, and the Predators get a much-needed win. They improved to 2-5. Queen City drops to 3-4.
Yeah, and you would have thought once Pope exited this game that was going to be an opportunity for Queen City to take advantage of that and maybe come away with a victory at home. That would have been big for them. They would have put them a couple of games, clear of 500. But instead, now they're back to 500. But more importantly for Charleston, that was a huge win for them to try to keep a playoff hope alive. The backs are kind of against the wall already with 5 losses, and but a huge win for them on the road to keep their season alive, so to speak.
Now Charleston is 2-5. They're one of the very few teams that have played 7 games in 7 weeks. That means they got a lot of byes coming up. In the next month, they only play twice, and it's not easy. They host Washington, and then they're at Sin City. Now they get Sin City on a bye, and then after that, it's the 4-2 Denver Nightwings, the 3-2 Minnesota Legend. It's hard to believe that this team has what it takes in terms of their record and their upcoming schedule, but they have the talent, and obviously they can put together a great game plan for what it's worth against the now 3-4 Queen City Corsairs. Do you give this team any shot at coming back in this?
Obviously, they have a shot. They have a great, quarterback. Kopech is having a fantastic season for yardage-wise goes, and the offense seems to be, potent. The game plan seems to be potent, even though he was injured early in this game. But man, that is a gauntlet of a schedule that they have to close out this season. I think they finish off with Nashville, but the next 3 games against, as you mentioned, Sin City and
Washington,
Minnesota and Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have byes in between each of those first 2 ball games, as you mentioned. So they're going to have opportunity to look at those teams, really, see what they can take advantage of, and hopefully come away with W's. But man, I like this team. I like what I like what they're doing. They've been on the short end of some great ball games. They had a high scoring ball game a couple of weeks ago that they came up short. I want to say it was Florida, if I'm not mistaken. So they a great team. They can score with you. I think they're gonna be in pretty much every game that they play. But that's a tough schedule, and I don't know if they're gonna be able to run that gauntlet, Cam. If I just have to bet, I would say no. They're probably gonna come up short. They pretty much dug themselves too deep of a hole to try to get out of.
Let's get to some blowouts here. Albuquerque stunted Bossier City 23-3. Now, I will say, even though the score was 23-3 and a 20-point win for Albuquerque, Bossier City did move the ball. Just the turnovers just really killed them, especially in the red zone. They threw 2 interceptions in the end zone. Albuquerque was ball hawk, and they are now 10-0 all time in their home stadium, and Albuquerque remains on top of the South. Did that surprise you in any way? How'd you see this game?
No, Albuquerque, they were at home. As you mentioned, it's just a totally different team when they're able to play at home, in front of Radiation Nation, and they performed as such. K. Marion had another huge game. And by the way, Cam, and I don't know how many times a wide receiver has been MVP of this league, but she's my early candidate for actual MVP, not offensive player of the year or whatever, but because she is pretty much, holding down a kind of a depleted, let's just say not experienced receiving squad over there. And week in and week out, she's coming up with huge numbers, another 150 yards again this week. But then Jason Williams also with 96 yards rushing as well. Cyrus Jive has been playing great. And then the defense, they did just enough to come away with the W. So, no, it wasn't a surprise at all that they were able to pretty much dominate Bossier City at home.
I think the last one was Gabe Manning for Tulsa back in the day to get the win at wide receiver in terms of MVP. The broadcasters mentioned this either after the game or during the game, but Bossier City, all they were doing is running inside, and Albuquerque was just sending their linebackers inside on early downs, so sometimes when teams get a little monotonous, get a little predictable, all it takes is a great coaching staff to come in and expose your weakness, and they certainly did that. Rob Noel did nothing in that game, which was surprising considering how well he started this season. Chicago wins their second in a row. They're now 2-5. Now, the resume could not be any worse. They've beaten two teams that haven't won a game. But they did hang 40 on the road against Oklahoma City. So a strong effort there from the Warriors. They are 2-5. Chicago's next games, just getting a peek at the schedule here, Atlanta, Carolina, Albuquerque. Any shot for the Warriors, now 2-5?
Well, I would be going against my slogan of any given sim day if I said they had no shot. But I'll tell you this: it's going to be a tough road for Chicago to come away with a victory in any of those games. As you mentioned, the strength of victory is it's horrible. I mean, there's no way around that. They and talking about a run game that's lacking, they really need to get a run game going over there to help complement some of the things that they like to do with type attack. But it's going to be tough for them to come away with any victories outside of the ones that we've seen them get out of. I hate to be ultra critical, but I don't see it at this moment, Cam.
Let's talk Vancouver. They beat Washington 40-23 in a big matchup out west. The Legion are your new number one team in the league right now, 5-1. They were 4 yards away from being 6-0 and beating the Sin City Samurai, but they get the win over Washington. Let's start with Vancouver first. This team is an explosive pass-first team. They mix in the run, really well. A really outstanding performance from them, especially over the past couple of games. But Vancouver looking like a scary team. They got Arizona next, but they once again were very impressive against the Washington Trident, whose defense has been outstanding this season.
Yeah, the Washington defense has been great, but then Vancouver, they figured out a way to hang 40 on these guys. And Christian Brown had another fantastic game, over 368 yards passing. Brett Killian, he was excellent. The defense of Washington, they did create, come up with 3 picks against Christian Brown. But other than that, man, this offense was humming. Bravado was great in the run game, as you mentioned. The defense, they played solid enough to come away with this victory. And man, look out, because I think Vancouver, out of all these seasons of, can they get to the championship game? Can they get to the semifinals? This may possibly be their year to do that.
Now let's get to Washington. By the way, this Vancouver offense is like Brett Killian's wet dream. I mean, it's just, could that guy who's chasing DR Sim, could he want anything more than what he's getting out of this offense this season? He's been great. Okay, Washington, you're 4-0. You've run 129 times in 4 games. You're playing a defensive front in Vancouver that's one of the best in the league, right? Why go empty and expose your quarterback? He got sacked so much in this game, and they went so pass heavy. And even if they would have run 10% more, it still wouldn't have been, what they had been producing over the past 4 games. I'm not a coach. I know they had their reasons, but against that Vancouver defensive front, it was surprising that they left Tommy Utah so exposed. To Washington's credit, Tommy Utah's been playing outstanding. Maybe they felt like he was being underutilized in the first month. They put him out on an island, and unfortunately Vancouver won the better of that battle.
Yeah, and it's a fine line, right, Cam, as to, do we stick with what we've done to get to this point, or do we say, hey, maybe they're looking for us to do a certain thing, and we're going to try to exploit something else. And as we mentioned earlier about Bossier City, they they were game planned on to stop the inside run,
Yep.
and so maybe this was Washington's way of saying, hey, let's try something different. But I'm personally, and I'm not a coach either, Cam, so we're pretty much in the same boat as far as that goes. But I'm kind of hey, I'm going to stick with what works for me. And if you're good enough to beat me, okay, you beat me with that, and then I'll switch up. But it was a risk that they took, and obviously it didn't work out for them in this game. But a lot of season to go for Washington, and they're still one of the top teams in this league. They have a couple of solid wins under their belt, and I look for them to continue their success as the season rolls on.
Hey, Bossier City did exactly what you said, and it didn't work out either. So sometimes it just doesn't matter what you do; it's just not your night. So that was that from Vancouver and Washington, and then on Friday, Valentine's Day, the big rivalry game, Minnesota Indy. They're always talking a lot of smack. They're always going back and forth. It's always a good time until it wasn't. This game got ugly. Ethan Flowers, the up-and-coming rookie, got hurt. The backup was terrible. Just was not able to execute the game plan that Flowers was. And who knows if they would have won anyway. Minnesota was all over them, and they win 31-3. This was not a particularly exciting game, and Minnesota got the better of Indy. I don't know if Indy just burns the tape on this or not, Mike, but this just got away from him, and it was kind of a bummer way to start Week 7.
Yeah, this is more or less the St. Valentine's Day massacre type thing, Cam. So yeah, just 31-3. You just burn the tape, move on. Don't think about it too much. Only thing now, you just don't have any bragging rights for that rivalry. As heated as it is. So and we pretty much expected that. I would think. Coming in Indianapolis with the rookie quarterback. I mean, they've had their ups and downs. They've had their moments where they've looked pretty good this season. But a rivalry game like that, I'm pretty sure Minnesota, where they were extra hype. And then once he went out, it was pretty much a done deal after that.
We appreciate Minnesota's David Leathers for stopping by with Ashley Jackson for a post-game interview. We have that for you now.
Welcome back to PGI, where I am joined with a great friend of mine over from the Minnesota Legends, coming off a big win, Mr. David Leathers, cornerback. How are you doing?
Oh, doing well, Ashley. Thank you for having me on PGI. Always a pleasure.
Hey, man, pleasure to have you. And I was looking at your game, total domination, over your rivals. So, first off, let's talk about the fact that the defense balled out. Obviously, 31 points, offense did their thing, right? But I kind of want to focus on the defense. I mean, 8 interceptions, guys. 2 for you and a pass deflection, 2 for Derek Meerkat, 1 for King Rashid, a pick 6 from Matthew Alvarado, Marsh and Bravo all coming up with interceptions of their own for 8, man. So what did you put in your Wheaties? What were you guys eating on to actually make that much of an impact?
Yeah, we've kind of, at least on the defensive side of the ball, we've had it going for a few weeks now. So I feel like this last game was kind of the culmination of the past few games. Yeah, I don't know. Just really got things dialed in. Our coverage is. I mean, everybody on every phase of the defense has been playing great, right? Defensive line has been getting great pressure. Linebackers are doing a great job tackling and in coverage, and then our secondary. I mean, we've been blanketing, everything basically. So that was like the perfect from my eyes. Like I think that was like the perfect defensive performance for our side of the ball.
Absolutely. And with that, you guys are now 4-2. So I also wanted to know, it's week 7, is now in the books. And I'm wondering, was this an important game for Minnesota, even though you guys are doing so well right now?
Yeah, I definitely think it was. The Indianapolis Minnesota rivalry game is always big. I mean, any rivalry game in any sport or league is always important. You always want to try to get those ones, but it also carries added weight in this league because it's a divisional game. So had we lost that, we could have dropped down to 3-3. Indianapolis would have gone to would have evened us up in the division at 3-3. But getting this win, putting us at 4-2, I think it sets us up really nicely for second half of the season. Going in 2 games above 500 as opposed to we would have been 500. So that'll make it a little easier on us, I think, for the second half and trying to set us up for playoff positioning and all of that.
I mean, honestly, you guys put the foot up on the gas, but I guess somebody had to do it, huh?
Hey, I mean, as I was telling you off camera, this is my second time playing in this rivalry. We lost my first year last season, my first year, so it's good to sort of get I feel like I'm like official now in this rivalry, right? I had a good game, got a W under my belt. Look forward to playing. I mean, this will always be a big game, so I'm sure next season it'll be just as big, just as impactful.
Indeed. Now, next opponents will be the OKC Renegades. What do you think? One thing that you guys will have to do to be prepared for that matchup?
Yeah, so I think we can't rest on our laurels, right? I mean, like I said, the defense has been doing great. Coaching has been doing an excellent job putting us in position. So I think we just have to keep it up basically, and don't have a letdown. Sort of like a letdown game after a big rivalry win. I think it's important. Just stay locked in. Do what we need to do. Just focus on put another W under our belt. I mean, we have 4 now, but as to get into the playoffs, it's definitely not going to be enough. So we gotta keep working.
Indeed. Well, I wish you guys the best of luck, David. Don't be a stranger. Pleasure talking to you today.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. I'll have to do it again real soon. Appreciate it.
All right, brother. Back to you in the booth.
Thank you, Ashley. $4.99 super chat from Skippy. Car, baby. BNG always. And from one bird to another, we go to Baltimore and Baltimore and Los Angeles in our final highlight of the night. And Ivory Irvin was putting in work early for the Baltimore Vultures. Got a field goal on that drive, just like they did most of the night. Shark Tarkington was busy. This was from 50 yards out. Nailed it. 9-0 just before the end of the half. Then start of the third quarter, Warren Murray and the ground game got it going. This game was close. LA's defense was keeping them in it, Mike, but it felt like Baltimore was never going to relinquish this game.
Yeah, they stayed close because Baltimore, they weren't cashing in with touchdowns like we're typically accustomed to seeing them do. But we saw Warren Murray finally cash one in right there to put them up 15.
And then Roy Towers with the interception, nearly a pick six, and you're thinking that is a wrap. It's 19-0. There's 4 minutes left. There's no way, right? Well, Shark Tarkington comes out for a 32-yard field goal. I don't think I've ever seen Shark Tarkington miss a field goal inside 45 yards. 2 minutes left. It's 19-0. No way, right? Great block by Jack Flash. Chris Lee's in the end zone. 19-7. 18 seconds later, LA still has a timeout. One timeout, that is, as the Lycans fans loving that. Get another look at it.
Yeah, nice pitch and catch right there. Sully Richardson finds Chris Lee for a huge touchdown right there to get him back in it. And damn, that turf looks like concrete.
An onside kick on the concrete bounces Los Angeles' way. They recover. 58 seconds left. On a 3rd down and 10, there's Chris Lee again. 19-14. It's a 5-point game. LA has scored 14 points in a minute and 5 seconds. They just need another onside kick recovery. And that bouncing ball ends up in the hands of Baltimore. The penalty was a block in the back, and that's how it ended in Los Angeles. 19-14. Baltimore survives a scare, and just in typical LA fashion, they get your hopes up. There's a moment, there's an opportunity. They just cannot figure out how to put these wins together, Mike. I feel like we're like this is what it must feel like to be a Bears fan. Let me put it that way. It's just hoping and hoping and hoping that your offense is going to produce enough points to win ball games, and they just aren't.
Yeah, this was a typical LA type game. First of all, let me say I was wanting them to win because when they said they were going to come out with new uniforms, this is kind of what I was looking for to start the season. I'm like, man, wow, they're going to win. Who wore it best if they were able to pull this game out, but they weren't able to do it. But they hung in there with Baltimore, and it was kind of odd to see Baltimore miss opportunities, as you mentioned. As we saw, Shark Tarkenton miss a field goal. They were pretty much dominating the first half, but they only were ahead 9-0. So LA kind of hung around, made a couple of plays, and had opportunity there at the end. But the enigma that they are, they continue to be that, and we can't figure them out from week to week, and they definitely don't seem like they are ever going to put together, a couple of winning streak.
And somehow they only lost by 5. Baltimore's
Yeah.
5-2. They're a top 5 team in the SFL standings right now, and they beat LA by 5. We were talking in pregame. It really does feel like it's anybody's league right now. I mean, if you were putting together a power rankings, I really don't know how you pick a number 1 team right now, because you could go down the list, okay? Albuquerque looks good. They got hammered Monday night against Minnesota. It was awful. I called the game with Charles. It was a total dud in the second half. Then you got Vancouver. Well, they lost at home, a 5-1 team, just a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know who you consider the favorite to be in this league right now. Carolina's 5-2. They lost to Charleston, who's 3 games back to them in their own division. So it's wild out there.
Yeah, I lean towards Vancouver being the top team, but that's a slight lean. But as we mentioned, everyone else, if you're talking about playoff positioning 1 through 12, man, it's I think it's anybody's ball game. Obviously, once we get to that point, a bye week, will help. The less you play, the better. But because I really think anybody could beat anybody. I don't see anybody right now being just totally dominant. Obviously, Vancouver very explosive on offense, as I mentioned. But other than that, Cam, it's going to be a rock fight, as they say, once we get to playoff time, and once all the dust settles from the second half of the season.
Most of the chat agrees with you that Vancouver would probably be their number 1 as well. All right, Mike, give us your Week 7 spectaculars.
Well, the Week 7 spectaculars. Who wore it best, Cam? I really like the way that they laid out their uniforms this week, and I typically lean away from this team, but they put it together nicely this week and came up with a win as well. The Charleston Predators, man, I really like that red, that kind of faded red jersey that faded up to the white, and that kind of black accents on the helmet. I think they did a great job. So they wore it best. And man, who put it together actually between the lines and had a great performance this week? We have to start with Ivory Irvin, as we mentioned there. He had a big game, 214 yards receiving. He did not get into the end zone, but that was a huge game for Ivory Irvin. That was probably one of his better game performances of the season. Let's see, Jason Williams with Albuquerque had 96 yards rushing. Kay Marion, she continues her MVP season as I see it, 151 yards on 10 catches. And then we can't go without mentioning Matt Alvarado, 15 tackles, 1 sack, a pick 6, and as well as 7 tackles for loss. Man, he is about as close as you can get to being a spectacular of the week, but it's all going to come down to Brett Killian, Cam, with Vancouver. This has been a kind of a Vancouver-themed Monday night show. So we're going to go with Brett Killian with my spectacular of the week. 8 for 164 and a touchdown, and a huge win over the Washington Trident.
Over 20 yards of reception for Mr. Brett Killian this week. All right, it's time for our favorite part of every SFL this week. It's our Monday Night Spectacular preview. We've got Fort Worth and D.C. coming up in about 19 minutes, and Ron Haynes and his Haynes Vision are here to help us break it down. So let's start with the not properly cropped on the screen for Fort Worth Toros. There we go. Fort Worth Toros. Eric Price, 64% completion percentage in the SFL. Mike, that's second in the league.
Yeah, he came over from Indianapolis and filling in quite admirably for Marcus Dunhill after he went to Carolina, and we see him with a huge touchdown pass right there to Stephen Hackett.
Stephen Hacker, 4 touchdowns this season. That's top 5 in the SFL, 411 yards, 82 yards a game as we get another look at, well, sorry, Mike, just hide your eyes and this pretty much this whole highlight reel, I think. Henry McGee.
He always has the way of playing well against Houston.
Yeah, he certainly does. Henry McGee is the newcomer to that rivalry, 248 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's been a nice complimentary piece there to Hacker to help him get free and sometimes get free himself.
There's no doubt about it with his huge touchdown catch right there and came too big for Fort Worth in that ballgame.
Jet Zero has 403 yards this season, but has yet to reach the end zone. Maybe he'll do it tonight, Mike.
Yeah, Jet Zero, he came over from Queen City after being there for many, many seasons, and he's been a huge addition to that Toros backfield.
Delaney Nash, the former MVP, 46 tackles, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. But first, Dexter Jackson, sorry, Ron. Dexter Jackson, 39 tackles, 11 TFLs. He's your Matthew Alvarado light over there in Fort Worth, but back to Nash.
Yeah, Delaney Nash, he's been a fixture in that secondary for a long time, coming through right there with a huge pick 6 against the Headhunters.
Delaney Nash, there's his complete numbers on the screen. Also 3 pass deflections and 2 interceptions this season. Finally, as we get another look at Nash's play, Ben Stone, 40 tackles in the backfield. This secondary is just, they're so underrated. They fly so far under the radar, Mike. They always seem to play great in the biggest moments.
Well, they've made the fly under the radar against teams that don't have to play them, but after having to play these guys every season, I know how great that this secondary is. And why were all the highlights against Houston? They didn't do anything good against anybody else.
Well, it's always from the previous week, but it just so happened to be against Houston. And yeah, sorry, Mike, that one's got to sting. Okay, now to the DC Dragons, also 3-2 in the North Division. DC has been, a pretty good team this season. They've had some issues defensively. Jason Strongbow's inactive, but Daryl Bullock, their corners, reactivated this week. The story, though, is Shabazz Synergy. When he's on, he is on.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And if they're going to win, they're always going to fall on Shabazz's shoulders. And we see him dropping a dime right there, but it's to be Robo. And he's going to have to come up big tonight if they want to get this W.
B. Robo and Connor Weston each have 51 career touchdowns. It's kind of unusual, especially because they've never really been teammates before, with always playing seemingly on different sides of the country. That's Connor Weston with that catch. And Weston, honestly, Mike, has been as advertised. 350 yards, 70 yards a game, 3 touchdowns.
They kind of had a slow start, Cam, the reigning offensive MVP, but he's starting to get things cranking over there in D.C.
Kevin Say putting together a Hall of Fame career. He's number 8 in the league right now with 424 yards, 4 touchdowns. He really does feel like the D.C. Dragon. When I say D.C. Dragons, you say Kevin Say.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Cam. The sheriff, as we call him, he is really starting to, come alive here after kind of had a couple of off seasons, but he's rounding himself back into form.
Peanut Say, he's really developed into a great player in this league. A slow start to his career, but a couple of picks, 6 passes defended, even a forced fumble. He's one of 6. He's forced one of the 6 forced fumbles by this DC defense. That is number 1 in the league. And linebacker Saeed Gore is a big part of their attack.
Yeah, and quick thing about Peanut, as you mentioned, he's come on strong over the past couple of seasons. But then, as far as the front 7, Saeed Gore, he's a huge factor for them on the defensive side of the ball.
Finally, Michael Percoco got his first sack of the season in that game against Atlanta. Has a handful of tackles, plus 1 as well. Got to watch him up front on the defensive line as the DC Dragons hope to maybe get a little bit more out of their defensive front tonight. That defense has just 8 sacks this season. That's 15th in the SFL. They'd like a little bit more production out of them. All right, so we've seen Fort Worth's strengths. We've seen DC's strengths. Now it's time for Mike St. Green to make his pick.
Okay, and Jack's data, they have Fort Worth as a favorite on the road, a 4.5-point favorite. I do not think they're going to cover that 4.5. The over-under is 51. I think this game is going to stay under. I mean, it's 51.5, actually. And I think this game is going to stay under, barely. And Fort Worth not going to cover, but Cam, they're going to win this game. They're going to win this game 27-24. So it's going to be a 51-point total. Washington's going to take the 4.5 points and beat the spread, but they will not win this game.
Wow, should be a good one. Hopefully tonight, a pair of 3-2 teams across divisional game and a rematch of the season 22 quarterfinal as well. A rare rematch a couple seasons later from this fresh new era. So Fort Worth, DC should be a great ball game tonight. Our statisticians we will introduce at the start of kickoff. Me and Charles Doherty on the call. Chris Curtis, Tyler Falk back from the studio here tonight for halftime and postgame. And Mike, we're taking a little bit of a sabbatical over the next few weeks. Our next SFL This Week telecast will be Tuesday, March 11th, recapping all of the games, all of the action that we missed, and then all of the action on Monday, March 10th. 6 games on Monday, March 10th. So no Monday Night Spectacular, but you'll join. I'll be joined by somebody for a matinee that day. The schedule's about to get a little bit hectic around the SFL, but hopefully you guys don't miss me and Mike too much, and we'll have plenty to talk about when we return for that Tuesday show.
Yeah, that's a long time, Cam. I'm going to be a year older by the time that show happens.
That's not how math works, man. That's
well, okay. Well, I'll have a birthday by the time that next show happens.
Oh, okay. You got a place to link people so that they can send you all their gifts.
Well, just say hi or something. I don't know.
Just say hi. Wow.
Figure it out. I'm not going to tell you how old I'm going to be, and I'm not going to tell you, when it is or anything.
Mike, you used to be really great at just on the spot, just coming up with stuff, but just say hi. It's got to be one of your worst ever. I thought.
Hey. The Cavs, the wheels don't turn. What am I, MS DOS or whatever they told me I was at the convention? I don't know. The wheels don't turn as fast.
Hey, you know what? I'm getting old too, and I don't remember either. So let's just leave it at that. Mike and I will be back Tuesday, March 11th. But until then, enjoy the rest of SFL action and enjoy tonight's Monday Night Spectacular between DC and Fort Worth. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you next time.